welcome to Special Investigations. Today's episode, Giants Above the Skies, hosted by Jaime Maussan.
For thousands of years, a persistent legend or folklore in many cultures worldwide has referred to giants hovering in the sky, with no definitive explanation for the object's presence or origin. However, a key element of this phenomenon is that for thousands of years, these enormous objects of unusual appearance have been deeply ingrained in ancient culture and are often accompanied by speculation about their origins. Most scientists and researchers remain skeptical, often attributing sightings to weather phenomena or psychological factors. Additionally, there is usually no conclusive photographic or scientific evidence to confirm their existence, whether extraterrestrial, mythical, or the result of a secret government project. Perhaps the most notorious example of a giant in the sky in modern times happened on December 9, 2009, at the Kremlin, and again on December 19, 2011, over the Pentagon. These strange phenomena were interpreted by many as a warning about the direction humanity was heading. On December 9, 2009, between 4 and 5 in the morning, three young men, Dmitry Kazantsy and brothers Irakli and Robert Valtek, were driving around Red Square in Moscow when they observed something extraordinary. A giant object, hundreds of meters long, resembling that of a great pyramid, floating in the sky over the Kremlin.
My friends and I were heading home from a party and drove near the Kremlin on Tverskaya Street on Wednesday, December 9, 2009. My friend Robert Valchek was the first to notice a large object above the Kremlin, and he got very excited. I remember the sense of urgency and fear that gripped us. I was very skeptical and wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. But Irakli, Robert's brother, who was driving the vehicle, suggested driving around to take a better look. We circled Red Square and went past the Kremlin once again. We could not get any closer since it is a secure area with no direct access. That is when we realized that the object was bigger than the largest tower in the Kremlin. It was approximately 1,000 feet in the air and rotating on its own axis. It looked like a giant pyramid. Later, I discovered that it was a tetrahedron with 4 triangular faces and 4 vertices. The recording turned out poorly, with the object barely visible due to the grainy footage. Despite its imperfections, this video has been reproduced around the world.
The Kremlin has been circled by UFO.
The Sun reported Friday a large, unidentified flying object hovering over Moscow's Kremlin.
Well, that's if you believe a video which has soared to the top of YouTube's Russian website.
The pictures apparently shot from a passing car have become a sensation. Another YouTube clip shot in daytime shows a gray object on the skyline near Red Square. Skeptics, however, say that if the images were for real, the public would have reported sightings to police, who are making no comment.
The prestigious news outlet, The Telegraph, based in London, published the news with the title, UFO hovers over Red Square in Moscow. According to the article, witnesses described the object to be pyramid-shaped, close to a mile in size, and appeared to be of unknown origin, with Russian aerospace experts unable to provide any explanation. The news outlet reported that the rotating pyramid remained in the same place, and it was caught on tape by several witnesses late at night and again with daylight at around 8 in the morning. Notably did not elicit any comment from the police or the military. Based on the witness observation, the giant object remained over Red Square for hours, without any fighter aircraft being deployed or any defense action having been carried out. This peculiar occurrence, especially in a nation as protected and powerful as Russia, adds a layer of mystery to the event.
In my view, the fact that UFO reports just went through the roof, skyrocketed dramatically at the end of World War II when we developed nuclear weapons. My view is that the reason this activity has increased since that time is directly related to nuclear weapons. Whatever else is on their agenda, whatever else they're doing, we have the documents, we have the retired Air Force personnel saying that they monitor our nuclear weapons and interfere with their functionality from time to time. I think, therefore, that they are trying to warn mankind, Washington and Moscow, who have most of the nuclear weapons, you're playing with fire. You are risking human civilization, you are risking the environmental integrity of your planet if you actually shoot these nuclear weapons off and engage in war with them. So in my view, based on the available evidence, the best scenario, the best case for what is occurring is that someone is trying to warn humanity that we are playing with fire.
Intriguingly, on the morning of December 9th, another enigma unfolded in northern Norway, 2,000 miles from Moscow. Videos captured by witnesses in Sweden and northern Norway showed an extraordinary giant spiral appearing in the sky, an event of astounding rarity never before observed in the area. The phenomenon was of monumental scale, spanning all of northern Norway. Experts suggested that it could have been a rare, never-before-seen Northern Lights variant. However, the following day, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that a failed ballistic missile test was the culprit. An official report cited a third-stage failure on a test that was launched by a nuclear submarine in the White Sea.
The government failed to provide information to the Russian citizens. They preferred to say nothing at all. Western media kept insisting that a Russian weapon was the reason a spiral appeared in Norway. Their newscasts insisted on blaming Russian weapons and Russian tests as the main reason for the appearance of the strange phenomenon. The news outside of Russia mentioned the possibility that the military may have been testing special weapons in the upper atmosphere and hiding its main objectives. The appearance of the spiral in Norway while former President Obama was visiting the country puts emphasis on the coincidence, especially on the reasons behind the Russian military decision to test a weapon at the same time.
The unexpected appearance of the giant tetrahedron over the Kremlin and the Norway spiral coincided with President Obama's Nobel Peace Prize speech, igniting a mystery that leaves us questioning the connection between these aerial phenomena and the absence of hope. In his lecture, the former president made a global call to action, emphasizing the need to combat drought, famine, and mass displacement, which he warned would fuel more conflict for decades to come.
The absence of hope can rot a society from within. There's little scientific dispute that if we do nothing, we will face more drought, more famine, more mass displacement, all of which will fuel more conflict for decades.
It is very hard to dismiss a coincidence between President Obama's participation in front of a world audience in Norway when both the spiral and the tetrahedron appeared in the same 36-hour period.
The synchronicity of these events was very interesting, and I investigated it back at the time in 2009. And my conclusion was that there was some linkage between those different events, that somehow the pyramid or the tetrahedron, it either was something that came out of the spiral, as some people contend, or it was something that caused the spiral, because there was also a Russian ballistic missile test that occurred at the same time. Russia at the time was developing its ballistic missile for its new ballistic missile capable submarines. It was the Bulava ballistic missile, and it malfunctioned according to the Russians. And so the Russians said that this is what caused the spiral, but many people believe that it could not have possibly have caused the spiral. The spiral was very different to a disintegrating or a failed ballistic missile test. I think there were extraterrestrials involved in this incident, and that's why they were really showing the Russians that this was not a good path, because they actually placed one of their craft, the tetrahedron, directly over the Kremlin, sending a message that your military force is no match for us. You really need to go down a path of global peace. The Russian government tried to cover it up, but nevertheless, we did have a few people that were able to upload this to the internet. That we see very clearly that this was something that was hovering over the Kremlin. There were different sources photographing and videotaping this, and it's very clear that this was a very large tetrahedron that basically had some kind of incredibly advanced technology, so that it could just hover over the Kremlin for several hours without displaying any kind of jet engines or any kind of propulsion system. So it was using some kind of anti-gravity technology that we probably have developed in secret programs, but for a craft that large, 1 mile in diameter, that must have very powerful engines to have it just sit over the Kremlin for several hours in the early morning and in the early morning day, or during the day as well.
Coming up next, we will analyze the appearance of another flying giant over the Pentagon in the United States Capitol, a highly secured area, and interview several witnesses who captured the phenomenon from different angles. Nine years and 9 months later, on December 19, 2018, the same pyramid-shaped object was observed and recorded by at least 4 witnesses from 3 different locations, hovering very close to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. How could a pyramid, a shape so intriguingly ancient, hover in the airspace above the 2 most sensitive and secure political military establishments on this planet? If real, these 2 cases could be amongst the most significant events in the history of unidentified aerial phenomena. The implications are extraordinary and raise many questions. Alex was one of the witnesses that night. He was working on a photography project around 4 in the morning at Arlington National Cemetery when he captured this video.
My profession in Czechoslovakia was a photographer, and I had a little project I have to make at Arlington Cemetery. I saw something hovering over the Pentagon, far away. I didn't understand what is this. It was a black, big object. I tried to film it with my iPhone, but it didn't see it. It was just pitch black skies. But with my camera, Nikon, I could make some shots, and so that's the story. But my wife became really scared. She asked me, "Come on, go away. We should not be here." Well, basically I was afraid too, because I didn't know what is this. Of course, I was surprised and I was afraid, because this is Pentagon military, and I thought, and this is what I'm thinking still, I thought this is some secret weapon they are testing, and I should not be seeing it. When I was shooting my pyramid, I didn't know about Kremlin, but now I know. People in the comments told me about that. I've seen it was. I think it was a similar object. At least it looks very similar. I've seen another 2 videos of that pyramid over the Pentagon. So I suppose a lot of people saw it, but they could not film it because it's impossible with a simple iPhone. You need a good camera.
Alex estimated the size of this tetrahedron-shaped object to the best of his abilities, which was somewhere between 300 to 600 feet at the base, a size that defies our understanding of aerial objects. Two other witnesses also recorded the incident. Richard and Nick were at a party that night with friends around 4 in the morning. They were driving in a taxi when they observed a large object floating above the Pentagon.
I see it. Turn right, turn right, turn right!
They thought it was a joke or a hologram. However, they decided to drive around the area several times to take a closer look at what was in the sky. These are the remarkable images they captured.
I was in a taxi coming back from a party with my friend, and I saw something very strange hovering in the sky close to the Pentagon. And I can't explain what it is. I have some theories, but honestly, it's very difficult to say what it is. I tried to get it with my mobile phone, and very poor quality, difficult to get a good image. And then luckily, I had a camera with me.
I was with Nick. We were in a cab. It was about 4 in the morning. About 4 in the morning. And just driving down the road, and then up in the above the Pentagon, I saw this like pyramid shape, and on the bottom it seemed darker than the rest. My first thought was it's hologram or a trick, a hoax, some kind of trick, somebody putting this hologram up there. But then the more I looked, I thought maybe it's not. And then we drove a little bit, and it was just a couple of minutes later, and then when we turned around, it was gone. There was nothing in the sky. It was just that couple minutes there, gone. And we couldn't hear anything. There was no sound, no humming, no electrical noise, nothing. Well, we tried to record it on our phones, and that didn't work. And so then we used Nick's camera.
I was lucky. I had the camera with me behind me. It was able to give me an image of whatever this object was. I don't know what it was. Very hard to say. First of all, I thought it was the alcohol, but then I realized, no, I'm not going crazy. And when my friend Richard saw it as well, and the taxi driver saw it, but he wasn't so interested in it. He was interested in, he could just getting his money and going home and seeing his family. So my first reaction was, this is very strange. And my second reaction was, we've got to record this. And my third reaction was, why is it just around the Pentagon? Why did I never see anything like this before, and why am I only seeing it now?
I work in the music industry, so I've seen a lot of light shows, but this is the Pentagon. It's not my house or your house. It's not somebody's neighborhood. It's the Pentagon. So when you see this, my first reaction was, it's got to be a joke. But then I thought it can't be a joke because it's 4 in the morning. Who's going to do a joke? And why? You do a joke because you do a joke because you want people to see. You don't do a joke at 4 in the morning.
I probably woke up around, 2:30 in the morning because the dog was whining in the living room. So I had to walk the dog. So I got dressed, took the dog outside, and then walked around the neighborhood a little bit. And the Air Force Memorial is not far from my house. So I think I was probably at the Air Force Memorial around, I'm not sure, 3:30, maybe 3:45. But I saw something in the distance, in the sky, something black. And I was squinting because it was very difficult to see because there were a few clouds in the sky. But I could make out the shape of a pyramid. This is a three-sided pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid was lighter than the sides, and it was rotating on its own axis. It was floating. So it wasn't moving left or right, up and down, it was just rotating on its own axis, above the Pentagon. So I took out my mobile because I was very surprised, of course. So I was like, wow, what the hell is that? So I took out my mobile and I tried to film it. And I was about filming it for maybe 4 or 5 minutes when my wife called. At that time, I think it was like around 4 in the morning at that time, December 19th. So she wanted me to come home immediately, so I said, okay, I'll come. I stayed a couple more minutes, maybe another 5 minutes, and I continued filming it. But then I had to leave. So I stopped and, just basically walked straight home.
In Farr's video, the pyramid is seen floating above the Potomac River as an airplane descends in the background at the Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. 4 different videos were recorded from 4 different angles. The witnesses don't know each other, since they were in the city for different reasons and activities.
Huge UFOs hovering over major cities from time to time over the last several decades, all around the world, is a suggestion that they are saying, look at us, we're real, we're here, and to me that suggests they intend open contact. Are they dangerous? That's the question. The Pentagon would say yes, because they're interfering with our nuclear weapons. The CIA would say yes for the same reason. Even if they're not hostile, even if they don't mean to conquer us or do things that are bad for humanity, there is still a number of repercussions, just the fact that they're here. Human religion could be changed, societal institutions, the many, many people all around the planet who think that UFOs don't exist are suddenly going to be deeply shocked that they were wrong and that UFOs do exist. When 9/11 occurred, the stock market fell. We had to close the stock market for 3 days, the first time since the Great Depression, to prevent the stocks from going lower because people were so shocked by what happened at 9/11. Can you imagine that even if the President of the United States gets on television and says, we have alien visitors, don't worry, they're not hostile, some number of Americans are going to run to the banks, going to call their stockbroker and say, take my money out, give it to me, I want cash. They're going to bury it in their backyard. There could be grave economic consequences to that announcement, even if the President says, they're not hostile, don't worry. People are going to say, well, you lied to us before about aliens, why should we trust you now? I want my money.
Due to the poor quality of both the Kremlin and Pentagon videos, a number of people suggest that they are nothing more than a man-made fraud.
So I looked at the videos and watched some of the witnesses that you were able to track down. I want to congratulate you on tracking down those witnesses. I think that's very important, what you've done. And again, this is the same kind of strategy, which is, when you have extraterrestrials appearing over major global facilities, the reaction by the major governments is to ignore it. And so this was something that I think the Pentagon decided to just not try to respond militarily, not give it any publicity at all, and watch the issue kind of die away in the media. Basically, the message is that we are still fighting amongst each other. We have all of the huge resources going into developing military technologies, when really we should be fostering as many peaceful solutions to international problems as possible, trying to help citizens in every country live prosperous and healthy lives, rather than continue down this path of conflict and disunity. So, and I think this is why the secrecy is maintained, because governments don't want us to know the truth, that extraterrestrials are here to help us unite as a planet in a peaceful way, where technology can be spread in a way to uplift us all. But major governments and elite groups don't want this.
Up next, we'll unravel a mysterious coincidence that occurred on the same day as the appearance of the tetrahedron over the Pentagon. Just hours later, on December 18, 2018, the President of the United States signed a memorandum, officially creating the United States Space Command. The move was perceived by many as a direct response, or perhaps a message related to the unexplained phenomena. Beyond the tetrahedron appearing above the Pentagon in 2018, another intriguing event unfolded. On that very day, President Donald Trump signed a memorandum, formally establishing the United Space Command. However, several observers consider that the Space Command is really about the militarization of the outer space of our planet, the start of a career that could lead us to place nuclear weapons off planet Earth. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned in a speech that his nation will respond to the United States by creating new weapons of their own for use in space. The situation, according to Putin, will worsen global security.
Well, this was a very important memorandum that was issued that day in December 18 of 2018, where President Donald Trump authorized the creation of Space Command. So that way, all activities occurring in space with some kind of military component to it would be under the authority of Space Command. And this is a very important step, because it meant that the US military would now have more authorization to go and find out what major US companies have been doing in space. Because this has been one of the big problems, Hammy, that in the United States you have many special access programs. These are programs that are run by corporations on behalf of the military, where the military pays the corporations money to do something. But then the corporations do things in space, but the military doesn't know what they're doing. So the creation of Space Command provides the US military a means of being able to, for the first time, control everything that is happening in space that involves the US military or US corporations.
Perhaps the appearance of the enigmatic objects over the Pentagon and the Kremlin was a message of some to the United States and Russia against militarizing space.
My opinion, having interviewed 130 retired military personnel about nuclear weapons cases involving UFOs and declassified document analysis, I think that whoever are aboard these craft have been monitoring the nuclear arms race, both here and in the former Soviet Union. My view is that they are keeping an eye on things. They are someone from somewhere else. And because of the very dangerous situation during the Cold War, when we almost had full-scale nuclear war on a number of occasions, the Cuban Missile Crisis being the best known example, I think whoever they are just monitoring very closely the fact that humans now have weapons that can destroy not only human civilization, but pollute the environment of the planet with radioactivity for many, many years. I think they have a concern for humanity's welfare, in my view, and I have interviewed ex-Air Force personnel, missile launch officers, who have said that UFOs hover over their missiles and the missiles malfunction. There are similar reports in the Soviet Union that have now become available to Western journalists and researchers. So not only are they monitoring nuclear weapons on an ongoing basis, from time to time it appears that they actually interject themselves into the situation and interfere with the functionality of the weapons. This has occurred a number of occasions, according to my retired military sources.
I think when we look at that tetrahedron over the Pentagon, that happened, basically that very night that the memorandum came out. I mean, we can look at that and say, well, this does look like a warning to me. I mean, it's a 1 mile, estimated to be 1 mile in diameter, or its vertices are 1 mile apart, and this is something that looks threatening. And it just hovered over the Pentagon for several hours and was witnessed by multiple people and photographed and videotaped. And when I look at that, it seems to be some kind of a warning, and then that, of course, what makes it even more interesting is the connection to that 2009 incident over the Kremlin, where you actually have what looked like pretty much the same tetrahedron pyramid hovering over the Kremlin for hours, even during the day. People were seeing this thing during the day. So, this was, I think, a kind of demonstration of power by some force, some off-planet force that has much more advanced technology than anything possessed by the Kremlin or by the Pentagon, and really basically laying down some kind of threat, some kind of ultimatum, something about the US and Russia doing things in a certain way.
A few weeks after the Pentagon incident, a carefully orchestrated effort was made to discredit the sightings. A video, allegedly from a United Nations meeting, featuring Aliya Prokofieva, CEO of a Moscow-based space watch, was released to the public. The video was allegedly captured via hidden camera, depicting a supposed UN-closed meeting with NASA, confirming the presence of an extraterrestrial pyramid-shaped object. Aliya announces that a large object, about 100 meters in diameter, flew 500 meters over the Pentagon. According to warnings on the video, copying was prohibited. The sounds are defective and cannot be compared with the speaker's original voice. The English subtitles are a faithful copy of the alleged speech. This video was released on January 29, 2019. However, the identity of the person who originally uploaded the images deleted all of their personal information. It was only possible to obtain the information of the original YouTube user that copied the video. Just 2 days later, on January 31st, another user claimed to discover that the video was a forgery. According to the researcher, a UN speech by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was replaced with that of the Russian CEO in an exceptional piece of computer-generated imaging. On the right, we can see the original images from the speech by the Turkish president. On the left, the sophisticated AI manipulation demonstrates a high expertise level. When carefully comparing the images, the deception is clear. Without knowing this is a manipulation, the new version is very hard to detect. This well-crafted work was done by highly skilled professionals. But why? Is it possible that the supposed UN video was created to generate confusion about the authenticity of the event that occurred over the Pentagon? Whether the pyramid-shaped objects in these videos are proven to be authentic is yet to be determined. But the UN video announcing extraterrestrial contact is a fraud. Coming up next, we will recount the numerous instances in which large objects have been seen hovering in the skies above cities around the world. Among these cities are Shanghai, the economic hub of China, and the Reichstag, Germany's most significant building. Our thorough investigation into the events of December 9, 2009, revealed that the pyramidal object that appeared on Red Square in Moscow was likely connected somehow to the launch of the missile test by the Russian military over the White Sea. This launch may have resulted in the missile's destruction, which was witnessed by thousands during the infamous Norwegian spiral phenomenon. Furthermore, the appearance of a similar object, 9 years and 9 months later, hovering over the Pentagon on December 18, 2018, suggests that this could hardly be a coincidence. But these are not the only events with similar giant objects hovering in the sky. The first documented appearance of a tetrahedron happened on April 25, 1968, in Riga, the capital of Latvia, while still part of the former Soviet Union. The pyramid-shaped object was filmed at a high altitude, the most direct preview of a tetrahedron and demonstrating the presence of these objects around the world. On June 21, 2021, at least 3 different witnesses observed and videotaped a tetrahedron suspended for an undetermined time over the financial district of Shanghai. 2 more witnesses also managed to obtain images of the extraordinary event, which occurred shortly after 8 p.m. The giant object can be seen hovering in the sky behind a layer of clouds, which makes it harder to videotape. However, as it happened in Russia and Washington, the witnesses described that it could be observed with clarity with the naked eye. On December 21, 2009, just 12 days after the tetrahedron was captured over the Kremlin, an unidentified witness, or perhaps a security camera, was able to capture an extraordinary image over the Reichstag of Berlin, the seat of the Congress of Germany. The image shows the same type of pyramid-shaped object of similar dimensions, captured at the same height as in the Kremlin and the Pentagon. The movement can be compared to that of the videos obtained in Russia and the United States, as the tetrahedron seems to be rotating on its axis. Thanks to the fact that the visuals were captured with a camera with night vision capabilities, it is possible to observe details, such as a Christmas tree illuminated on one side of the Reichstag. Another important fact is that it has no light and emits no sound, and it goes practically unnoticed by people near the site. Most recently, a similar object was captured using a night vision camera on July 15, 2019, off the coast of San Diego by the crew of a U.S. Navy combat ship. The frigate was near the California coast when the green-tinged video was captured by the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force and initially leaked to filmmaker Jeremy Corbell. The Pentagon had confirmed the video's authenticity, together with images showing multiple UFO sightings by U.S. Navy personnel. An 18-second video shows what is described as a pyramid-shaped UFO hovering over the warship. At one point, the pyramid-shaped craft reportedly hovered 700 feet over the tail of the Russell. The implications of the extraordinary events above some of the great centers of power in the world, such as the Kremlin, the Pentagon, and the financial center of Shanghai, are remarkable. However, as in all cases, the object does not make its presence evident nor seems to make a statement. On the contrary, its subtle presence and brief appearance seem to be a direct message to the leaders in charge of the World Power Center. After our investigation, the common denominator in the appearance of the objects is the lack of military response, especially from the most formidable and robust military on Earth. Perhaps a combat over the skies would have exposed the presence of foreign intelligence in our world.
When you have extraterrestrials appearing over major global facilities, the reaction by the major governments is to ignore it, not to try to engage with it militarily because they know that they don't have the technology to destroy that kind of craft. And so this was something that I think the Pentagon decided to just not try to respond militarily, not give it any publicity at all, and watch the issue kind of die away in the media. I think, Jamie, that really the Pentagon and people within the current presidential administration in the US do want the truth to come out. They want us to know that extraterrestrials are visiting us, and so they're taking these baby steps of letting us know that the UFO issue is very real.
The events that occurred on December 9, 2009, above the Kremlin, and on December 19, 2018, over the Pentagon, may be related to the safety and security of the world. As world tensions escalate, nations race to military levels not seen for decades. Could the pyramids, hovering above the most powerful symbols on our planet, be trying to communicate a message to humanity? Is it possible that the presence of these objects suggests more than ever that we must evolve? Perhaps the message suggests that we shall lift our eyes to the sky, acknowledge the existence of other intelligent life forms, and work towards a peaceful future. Coming up next, we will travel to Arizona to investigate the most notorious example of a giant in the sky. In 1997, 20,000 people witnessed a massive, unidentified flying object in the night sky for 3 hours, an event known as the Phoenix Lights. Perhaps the most notorious example of a giant in the sky happened on March 13, 1997, and witnessed by a staggering 20,000 people in the city of Phoenix, Arizona. A mass UFO sighting that remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the modern age. It all started at 6:55 p.m. when police in the small desert city of Henderson, Nevada, reported seeing a low-flying massive object in the night sky. Over the next few hours, the craft was witnessed by thousands of people as it journeyed southeast. Because most of the sightings were reported by the residents of the capital of Arizona, the incident is known as the Phoenix Lights. With a population of 5 million people, thousands of Phoenix residents reported seeing an immense UFO flying at a fairly low altitude, slowly and quietly. The 3-decade event was perhaps the most spectacular mass UFO sighting ever recorded. It was a sighting on almost unprecedented scale. The giant object reportedly hovered above Phoenix for 3 hours before it finally disappeared over the horizon. According to witnesses, the silent craft flew over their heads at low altitudes, with orbs detaching from the main object before flying away. The Phoenix Lights incident made headlines across the country. Many eyewitnesses were utterly convinced that what they saw was not a man-made airplane, but rather an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Some residents were fascinated, others puzzled, but many were terrified by the sighting. Eyewitness reported that the military was in pursuit of the craft, suggesting that the personnel at Luke Air Force Base were involved. However, in the weeks following this extraordinary encounter, a carefully orchestrated disinformation campaign was launched by state authorities and the military. Arizona Governor Fife Symington mocked the incident at a press conference, discrediting the unique event as a joke, shaming the entire city into silence.
And now I'll ask Officer Stein and his colleagues to escort the accused into the room so that we may all look upon the guilty party. Don't get him too close to me, please. This just goes to show that you guys are entirely too serious.
The many voices requesting a formal inquiry were shut out by those in power. There was no investigation and no explanation. The following day, a spokesperson from the National Guard assured Arizonians that flares were dropped during the night by a military aircraft during previously scheduled military training exercises, but not everyone was convinced. The explanation contradicts the standard burn of aerial flares, which last no more than 90 minutes as the Phoenix Lights went on for hours. Flight controllers at Sky Harbor International Airport described in their own words, 6 points of light equivalent and distant from each other over a massive span of a mile wide that turned against the wind. While the Phoenix Lights is one of the most extraordinary UFO encounters in history, it is just one of many mysterious sightings that have taken place in the state. According to the National UFO Reporting Center, there have been approximately 5,000 UFO reports in Arizona going back to the 1940s.
Phoenix has been singled out just because, maybe because of the mass sightings of '97, the focus has been on Phoenix because all those people saw that triangle, which very well could have been a couple different types of events. The 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock events was clearly a real triangular shaped object that was reported from Paulden all the way to Tucson through Phoenix. And these reports came in on the phone from many different witnesses into the UFO Reporting Center in Seattle. And then we have something else that happened that night on March 13th at 10 o'clock. We have a stream of lights over South Mountain that the Air National Guard says that were National Guard flares from the Maryland National Guard that were dropped. So Barry Goldwater Base confirms that those were flares at 10 o'clock. So we have a number of different incidences. Was the 10 o'clock sighting a diversion? Was it to try to show everybody that, oh, we can just explain the whole night sightings away? Or were those UFOs too, and the government making up stories that, oh, we dropped flares when they really weren't flares? So we really don't know the whole thing about March 13th, but we do know one thing: the 8 o'clock sightings to the 9 o'clock sightings were really something very strange.
Jeff Wills is one of many UFO hunters who spotted the infamous Phoenix Lights in March 1997. In the years since, Wills has continued to document the return of those same boomerang-shaped crafts as Arizona's first and original UFO hunter. He spent decades eyeing the skies in and around Phoenix. His vigilance has paid off, with hundreds of hours of footage that show off strange things hovering in our heavens.
As a skywatcher, I want to top my next piece of footage. You know, I mean, I've shot a lot of amazing footage, but my drive is to get better footage than that, to keep on filming, to get the best one, the best shot that I can get. And it'll be a never-ending hunt until I can videotape myself walking right up to the craft.
The possibility that the Phoenix Lights were extraterrestrial continues to hover over this extraordinary case. What is certain is that whatever passed silently over the city that night has opened minds and raised new possibilities that perhaps we are not alone.